The Steelers continue on with a come-from-behind win over the Commanders. We're breaking down that and all of our biggest takeaways from Week 10 today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this?
Nothing.
It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5.
Joe, what a week 10. We had some big-time underdog upsets, not just covering the spreads. No, some of them covered the spreads for us, but some of them won these games outright. Big-time underdogs. The Arizona Cardinals layeth the smacketh down on Aaron Rodgers in what is suddenly the hardest place to play in all of football. Our opposing teams haven't scored a touchdown in 3 straight games in Arizona.
Wow.
We're going to look at the ceiling of that football team in a wild, wild west. A couple of movie references, Hollywood references there for you. But let's start with Pittsburgh in the outskirts of the nation's capital, posting a 10-point come-from-behind victory over Jane Daniels and the Washington Commanders as the Steelers. Don't look now. Lamar playing for another MVP. Big win against the Bengals. Steelers are still in first place as we get ready for Week 11.
7-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. Moon balls from Russ Wilson, baby.
The Moon Knight.
We knew it was coming. And boy, did it work, right? The big one to Mike Williams, the crazy ball to George Pickens, the insane play.
Body adjustment, dude.
Insane difference. Yeah. But was that the best Pickens highlight, or was it his jumping stiff arm? Did you see the jumping stiff arm?
I did. I personally enjoyed both of those much more than whatever the heck he did behind the play on that interception where he tackled somebody to the ground for absolutely no reason.
Different kind of cat.
But
different kind of cat.
Neither here nor there. I will say George Pickens, I thought the most impressive thing about that touchdown catch that he had was not only the body control and how he opens himself 180 degrees to get back inside when he's kind of opened his frame outside. He managed to tuck his entire forearm underneath the ball while parallel to the ground to make sure that thing had no chance to touch ground. Elite ball skills.
Dude, it was in so many ways the Steelers game, right? The moon balls, they make their plays on special teams. They should have converted that fake punt. Run the ball not that efficiently, but they stick with it. Their pass rush shows up. Washington just really couldn't get the ball moving with any level of consistency offensively. And it's kind of the Steelers deal, man. And like you said, they're 7-2. To me, there's 3 teams that have a chance at the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. It's the Chiefs, it's the Steelers, and it's the Bills. And the Steelers, we're going to find out, right? Because they play Kansas City, they play Philly, and they play the AFC North. It's all right here over the rest of the schedule, but they have to feel good about where they sit right now. Stacking wins, feel like they have reinforcements. That Preston Smith trade's looking pretty good after we saw Alex Highsmith go down at the end of that game.
That was a really ugly ankle. Did we get an official word on what it was?
Looked like a dislocated ankle to me. I'm not an expert, but
sometimes those ugly, like if it's just a dislocation, like sometimes that recovery window is not as long as you'd expect. So fingers crossed for Alex Highsmith. But as you mentioned, that Preston Smith, which was kind of like I won't say like a throw in at the deadline, but it was kind of like that's interesting. And like everybody kind of kept talking about Marshawn Lattimore, but Preston Smith wanted to go to a better scheme fit after Jeff Hafley comes in, and he's going to get an opportunity to play some really meaningful football for the Steelers, presumably if Highsmith misses meaningful time. My favorite nugget about this game, Joe. There were 26 possessions.
That's a ton. That's a ton.
26 possessions.
That's a freaking ton.
And the reason why you get 26 possessions, you had three possessions in this game that were longer than 3 minutes and 24 seconds.
It's not like there were fireworks in this game. You know what I mean? Like
Pittsburgh goes 14 plays for 86 yards for 7 minutes and 1 second, which is the longest possession of the game. They didn't even score. They fumbled the ball. So you had time of possessions of 3 plays, 48 seconds, 3 plays, minus 3 yards, 58 seconds, 6 plays in a minute and 4, 3 for 117, 118, 119, 121, 124, 132, 136, 137, 156. These are all less than 2-minute possessions in this game. So
no wonder this game was on at the end of all the 1:00 games. You could tune in and catch the finish of this one.
Right. It was the blessing in disguise. You mentioned Washington and some of their incontinuity irregularity moving the ball. Pittsburgh had the 16-second time of possession that was 1 kneel down at the end of half, but then it was Washington, 1 Pittsburgh short drive, which was the end of game sequence, and then Washington again. So they really had a lot of short cameo appearances offensively that kind of led to some of the clunkiness that this game had for them.
Let's sneak in the Chiefs here, beating the Broncos 16-14. Will Lutz 35-yard field goal to win it at the end is blocked. Don't be mad at Will Lutz today. Be mad at the left side of that field goal operation. You got one guy
even
going
out there,
brother. What was that?
Was that a light gust of a pinch and a squinch and a cool ocean breeze that just pulled everybody over and blew everybody over, and they got whitewashed trying to block on a 35-yard kick.
It's like details, right? Details. That's a massive blunder in a game where, I mean, the Broncos, that'd have been a big win going into Arrowhead and winning that game, and they'd have been 6-4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're even at 500, and it's Bo Nix, good performance, right? They, for the most part, bottle up Kansas City. Defense looks good for Denver, all for naught, right? The Chiefs just find a way.
The hard pill to swallow for Denver, and this gets overlooked a little bit, was not just that you had a blocked field goal in the final possession. They also missed a field goal in the last play of the first half.
Yeah.
So defensively, props. You guys played a heck of a football game. Bo Nix has looked as comfortable, especially in the first half, looked as comfortable as maybe we've seen Bo Nix all season against Kansas City. Credit where credit's due. There's a lot of good to come out of this game. The silver lining for the Broncos at 5-5, you're still going to be right in the thick of things.
Yeah.
In the AFC playoff picture, but this is one that could have been a signature win that really catapulted you. You just hope you take all the good out of it. You compartmentalize the bad end game sequence that changes what your entire week feels like, and you keep rolling.
Regardless of what happens to Denver this year, I think they have to be so satisfied with not only how Bo Nix is developing, but defensively what this team can become, right?
Yep.
And I feel like there's still a lot of talent upgrades they can have across the board here. So I think this is a successful season for Denver. They've already kind of exceeded my expectations.
I'm glad you said that, because I've been sitting here thinking about, I think my hot take for Denver was Sean Payton was going to finish the season with as few wins as he's had ever in his coaching career.
Yeah.
Which is going to be like 6.
Yeah.
And they've outperformed it for me too, pretty comfortably.
Yeah, they're trending well in Denver, the mile high. Speaking of trending well, the Arizona Cardinals. We'll talk about them and more on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing overtime game, which is why they've created Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and the last to leave. We see you. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you're rooting for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for a big tailgate or ironing your favorite jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you do is pick more or less on at least 2-player projections for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. I personally love that Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get money in as quick as 15 minutes. And Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this season. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
The Cardinals checked Aaron Rodgers into the SmackDown Hotel. I'm going to come up with as many pro wrestling, Dwayne The Rock Johnson references that I can think of. They kicked the Jets' teeth in. They were all over the offensive line. I know Tyron Smith had a neck injury and left this game, so Olu Fashanu had to come in and play, and he's been getting some, I think, our maybe least favorite thing to hear for a rookie offensive line. He's been cross-trained at a bunch of different spots, and stepping in at guard, and now he's a tackle. And Kyler Murray, I think, is the biggest piece of the puzzle for Arizona. He's playing some of the best ball of his career right now, it feels like.
No question, yeah. 22 of 24, 266, a touchdown. They run the ball well, 3 rushing touchdowns, a $147 on the ground. Cardinals defense showing up, and that's been a really big revelation. They've held 3 of their last 4 opponents under 15 points. Mm-hmm. They're playing well, and I mean, rushing defense has been incredible as well. So it's such a fascinating situation because I think they're overachieving for their talent on the defensive side of the football. And offensively, we knew they can run it. There's a lot of hype for Drew Petzig, the offensive coordinator. Very creative scheme. It's coming together. Marvin Harrison's cranking up. Trey McBride's cranking up. And I think the question here with Arizona, and the Jets stink. We don't need to spend any time on the Jets. They're not the story of the NFL that the NFL tried to make you think they were going to be all summer long. It's about Arizona. It's about the first place Arizona Cardinals at 6-4, who have won 4 straight and 5 of their last 6. Their losses they lost to the Bills, the Lions, the Commanders, and the Packers. Like there's no shame in those losses. Mm-hmm. This is a good football team. And I know, like, you go back to even the hiring of Jonathan Gannon and just the direction, man. I thought it was going to take a lot longer than this. And I'm sure that there's probably better years coming for Arizona based on their trajectory. But going into the bye right now that they have this week and coming out with road dates against Seattle and Minnesota, Arizona feels like they're in a really good spot in this division and in the conference.
Yeah, I think the thing that they just need to be leery of is obviously San Francisco getting McCaffrey back. And if San Francisco makes the run, the teams that have been in the shoes of San Francisco for as long as they've had have shown that they're capable of. You might be looking at a 10-win team in the NFC that doesn't get in a playoff field. Right?
I think it's trending that way. Absolutely.
So
yes.
that's just where Arizona, you got to keep the urgency and keep your foot on the gas. I'm super impressed by the secondary. They got some young guys, Garrett Williams, which I know is not really a big surprise to us.
Good player.
Yeah. That we did with him at Syracuse before he had an injury and it caused him to fall in the draft a little bit. Made a number of splash plays. Buda Baker continues to be a top. I don't want to throw in. I want to be conservative with the number I put out.
3.
But
3.
I was thinking either 3 or 5, and I'm like, I don't want to be too disrespectful and say too low of a number here. Adrian Taylor-Demerson making a couple plays, which I know is not a surprise to us because we like this tape a ton at Texas Tech. Max Melton, they got some youth, and it's really humming for them. So that's the part for Arizona that I think they have to be really excited about becoming kind of the identity of. It's a back forward defense as far as where the plays are being made for them. Mm-hmm. The guys in the secondary made a ton of plays for them. So that's a really positive development. And then offensively, they're one of these teams that has kind of got out in front of the size race, right? And I think in a perfect world, you do have better wide receiver 2 options than Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Zay Jones. But Elijah Higgins is not getting a ton of run in the passing game, but is a flex player that goes with Trey McBride and what he can do. And they just spent a 3rd-round pick of Tip Ryman as an inline blocker. And they got this big back in James Conner with the speed of Kyler Murray. So they can go expanded fronts or surface levels on the front side of their run concepts and run downhill. But then you hit the backside with Kyler speed. And it's just really fun to see how they have managed to piece it all together from a punch-counterpunch perspective. And the Jets, I believe I saw they missed 20 tackles. They missed 20 tackles against the Cardinals yesterday.
Yeah, and they're usually a pretty decent tackling team.
Biggest number of missed tackles for any individual team this season in a defensive performance.
The Cardinals are not happy about the Vikings escaping with that win over Jacksonville yesterday because this, like you said, man, this is a complicated NFC situation as the playoff picture takes shape. I think you've got, right now, San Francisco's not in. The Rams are not in at 5-4 and 4-4. Packers at 6-3 are the 7. Commanders 7-3 are the 6, and the Vikings are 7-2 as the 5. Vikings getting some of the wins that they've been able to escape with this year is helpful for them, but hurtful for some of these other teams that are going to try to knock on the door here. As you kind of think that the Lions are going to run away with that division.
Can we be honest about Minnesota though?
Go ahead and try.
I think they're going to fade a little bit. They got at Tennessee, at Chicago the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, 9-2.
Okay. Arizona.
Huge.
Atlanta. Depends, like if Tampa Bay can make a run, that might be a bigger game for another potential wild card spot.
Dude, if they get to 9-2, they're in. They're not going to not make the playoffs at 9-2.
We just said there might be a 10-win team that doesn't make it.
I know you're right about that. But 9-2 is such a
I get it, but it's Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago again, at Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit.
If Minnesota gets to 9-2 and doesn't make it, that there can't be many teams. Ever.
They have 6 turnovers in the last 2 games, and they've won both games. Credit where credit's due.
I know.
But you've also played Joe Flacco and Mac Jones. Dude, how about Doug after the game?
Jeez.
How rough of a look was that?
You know what's funny is Ben Albright, I thought, had a great tweet about this. It's like, yeah, Doug, everybody knows Doug's gone. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to get to go home and collect paychecks from his couch, or if Shad Khan's going to make him go through the grind of finishing out the season.
I think if you're Jacksonville, I would rather him continue to be there. You know what the season is. You have an opportunity right now. Jaguars have the first overall pick in the draft with 7 games to play.
I'm going to tell you what I do. I hire Bill Belichick today.
He can't.
Today.
He's working.
You can. You can hire a coach midseason. Bills did it with Marv Levy. Do it today.
Get out in front of Dallas.
Do it. He ain't going to Dallas.
Is he?
There's no way Bill Belichick's signing up to go to Dallas.
Okay, but just hear me out. I didn't realize this. You know who else Jerry hired?
I'm fully aware of all the head coaches he's hired. Who's he hired?
Who's he hired? Who's he hired that fits into the same bucket as Bill?
Jimmy Johnson? Sort of.
It's another Bill. Bill Parcells. He pulled it off hiring Bill Parcells.
You're not wrong, but this is a different Jerry.
I agree the culture fit is not good, but we see teams do not good culture fit stuff all the time.
You say, Bill Belichick, you're our head coach, you're our GM, come in today. Figure out these players, figure out what we want to do. You get however many games are left. Do it today.
Are you bringing in Bill and leaving the rest of the staff and having Bill just evaluate and work with everything and try to be the new point guard for everything?
Yeah, he's got a runway right now to assess and evaluate, and let's get it going because we're not far away. We have talent. Come on, and a lot of the talent that they have actually kind of works for what he wants to be as a head coach defensively.
I agree with that. I think that's a great point. Now, my only counterpoint, although maybe maybe it's not a bad thing for Bill, or it's not a good thing for Bill. Jacksonville has the number 1 overall pick in a class where you look up and like Garrett Nussmeier's played really bad for the last 6 quarters of football. He should probably go back to school. Jalen Milroe could go back to school. Drew Allard could go back to school. Quinn Ewers, nope, he's not for me, right? And it seems like the league's souring on that one a little bit too. You got probably 2 legit quarterback options, and one of them wants to choose where he's going to play football.
Right.
So you get the number 1 overall pick, Tankathon right now. You know what the draft order is right now?
I'm not familiar.
Walk with me. Jacksonville. Number 2 is the Giants. Quarterback team?
Yeah.
Number 3 is Tennessee. Quarterback team?
Yeah.
Number 4 is the Browns. Quarterback team?
Yeah.
Number 5 is the Raiders. Quarterback team?
Yeah.
These teams are already climbing all over each other for the first pick.
Yeah. Go get it.
So if I'm Jacksonville, I can't want to make Doug suffer his way through it. You know what I mean? Because I think the more changes you make, and maybe Bill changes for the better, but and maybe it's a Robert Saleh thing where the wheels fall off the bus, but I would want to see this season through with that in the back of my mind if I'm Jacksonville strategically, because of what benefits I could reap off of that if the desperation hits fever pitch, because you got 2 options and one of them wants to choose where he wants to play.
All right, we've already talked about one underdog win. Of course, the Steelers going into Washington to win. And we've got more to get into here on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gift sets site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. We told you last week about a lot of spreads that we like. If you took us up, then you're probably doing pretty good. I'm up 12 units this weekend. So check it out for yourself. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I've been trying not to laugh for the entire break of the segment.
So good job not laughing. What's so funny?
Thank you. Are you aware of what's going on in Chicago right now?
I'm guessing it's windy and people are eating deep dish pizza and hot dogs.
That's a great
looking at a bean.
That's a great series of bets you've made. But Matt Eberflus currently has a weekly Monday morning ESPN radio phone call.
Yeah.
Things are not good in Chicago right now. Caleb Williams got sacked 9 times against the Patriots.
Yeah. Know about it. Yeah.
Patriots also layeth the smacketh down on Sunday. Eberflus, have you ever been like in a social setting and you pretended to be on the phone to like not have to talk to somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just yes or no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to get out of a conversation on the phone and pretended like you couldn't hear what the other person was saying? Like the old,
Kyle, I haven't, but I'm going to put that in the bag.
Yeah. Eberflus's phone call experienced bad cell phone reception 3 times on this call in the midst of the critical conversation that was happening around the state of affairs around the team.
Oh, you think this was on purpose?
The timeline is convinced. 3 times bad cell phone reception, couldn't hear what they were saying. The interview's canceled.
I'd say a metropolis like Chicago probably has pretty good cell towers.
You would think, right?
I would think, yeah.
And then if you're on the Wi-Fi, right, wherever you are, I'm sure the Bears facility has Wi-Fi that you could connect to make sure that you.
I'm guessing he didn't. I'm guessing he did not use his cell phone to call in.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. It's a hunch. I feel like he has
Landline?
some kind of office. Yeah, I think he's got an office phone. Yeah, I think so.
The only landlines that are in use in NFL anymore are the ones that go from the box to the phone next to the stadium.
Nah, they got internet phones. That's my guess.
So that Shannon Sharp can pretend to talk to somebody and say, "Help is on the way." Is he the one who did that?
They're killing the Patriots or something. It's good.
All right. So the Bears, their mess, right, is a very disjointed effort.
This actually works. Somehow the Patriots were 6.5-point dogs.
I know. That's why we came in with it. I was going to talk about segment 2 and then decided to wait until segment 3 for this exact reason.
Continue. I had my epiphany there. Thank you.
Caleb Williams finishes this game averaging 4 yards per attempt. Not 4 yards for completion, 4 yards per attempt.
Bad.
The team could not run the ball with any consistency. DeAndre Swift averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Roschon Johnson had 1 for -4 yards. And I know they were a little banged up on the offensive line. But you're starting to get to the point, I think, with Caleb, where you just want to be leery about the minus plays and the toll that it takes on negative reps and scar tissue and muscle. He's been sacked 38 times this season, Joe. In 9 games.
17 in the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Or 16 in the last 2 weeks, something like that.
Something like that. So what do you think?
I think that the Bears have a coaching problem. I don't like their staff at all. I think that Caleb Williams has got his own culpability with this. I promise you he wasn't sacked 38 times because it wasn't his fault. And I think that goes back to some of the concerns that I had with him coming out of USC. I think that puts even more on the coaching staff to be the right mix around him to get him to play good football. Because this was a situation where you looked at the talent, offensive talent, and you felt pretty good that he kind of had the stuff, right? He had the stuff.
This was talked about as perhaps the best situation a number 1 overall quarterback has ever walked into.
Yeah, it's a lot of hype. That's a lot to put on a guy. So I'm concerned about it. And I mean, is it a situation you've seen some other teams now benching quarterbacks? I don't know if that's the right move to do here. I think Caleb needs the reps, but at the same time, it's partly his fault.
Quarterbacks this season with at least 50 dropbacks on 3rd down. Worst passer ratings of those players. Gardner Minshew, 39.7. Caleb Williams, 58.5 on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And if you expand it to not a minimum threshold of 50 dropbacks, Caleb has 100. Only Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, amongst all other quarterbacks, are worse on 3rd down than Caleb.
Yeah, they gotta get their coaching figured out. It's feeling like a non-productive year 1 for Caleb Williams in the direction of the Chicago Bears.
I think it's helpful for Ryan Poles.
I agree,
but I don't know how helpful it is for the
Not
other parties, especially because much of the other parties, if they're making the changes that probably need to be made, they're not there for them.
Yeah, I wonder if this is an attractive spot for Ben Johnson.
I would say no. Ben Johnson's turned down a lot of potential opportunities, including the chance to have the number 2 pick this past year in Washington and get Jaden Daniels. Yeah. Now, maybe Caleb's just enough to move the needle off of it, but.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, what's the coach that you'd want to pair Caleb Williams with that gets you excited? Kind of challenging, right?
Brother, that's a show.
Right.
Let's come back to that one. Because we're going to talk about...
We'll get to their funeral, right?
Right, in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the Panthers in
Keep
Germany.
Pounding, maybe. Yeah.
Keep pounding. They get an overtime win. Unfortunate break for Tyrone Tracy, who's been a great rookie story for the Giants.
Correct.
With the fumble there, set up the game-winning field goal.
Between that play, and I hate for Johnny Newton to catch a stray, though, but what he did at the end of that game, the Washington game, it's just a reminder of rookies make mistakes, man. Rookies are going to cost you games. And I think that's what happens. It's disappointing because Tyrone Tracy's been such a revelation for that backfield. But I think credit Carolina for winning the game. Bryce Young continues to play a little bit better. Chuba Hubbard told us exactly why he got the contract extension in this one.
Can Daniel Jones please throw a football downfield to somebody who's wide open? How bad was the flea flicker?
Not part of what he does, man.
Like just blatantly leaving points out on the field. And Daboll's expressions after it said it all.
Right? Oh yeah, you don't miss it with Daboll.
For 3 minutes after the fact, he's sitting there just shaking his head on the side.
Right.
Let's see. So Bills Colts.
How much of that did you see? A lot of really weird plays in that game. Bills 4 takeaways on defense.
So they got the pick 6 on the first possession.
First possession.
Joe Flacco's first attempt, I think.
Yeah, and then he threw another interception on the next drive, a screen pass, and Austin Johnson picked it off. Then Taylor Rapp got one on the strip sack. You could tell the Bills didn't have their weapons in the passing game. No Coleman, no Cooper. Kincaid misses most of the game with a knee. So they're kind of just figuring it out. They wound up having the second most yards they've had in a game this season, win the game by 10. But the story was big plays on defense for the Bills. A lot of takeaways, a lot of negative plays.
49ers eke it out in the final moments.
Yeah.
Jake Moody missed 3 field goals in this game, hits the one that matters most at the end of the game. How about the Baker Mayfield play? I mean, just flowers to Baker for stiff arming Nick Bosa, hanging off of his body, running to his right, throwing that ball for a 4th down, right?
Yeah.
It's like a 4th and 7.
I've seen some of that, but it's a lot larger player whenever I see them do that.
Yeah, you're used to that with like 6'5", 240.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Not whatever Baker's got,
Not 6'006",
hey.
218-pound Baker Mayfield, right?
I mean, it's Baker continues to earn my respect, So
yeah, it's been one of my favorite storylines of the last couple of years is how he's gotten his entire career back on track. And this Tampa team, I know they got their problems defensively. I know they came into Week 10, I think 28th in the league in scoring defense. I know they got questions with the pass rush. I know the run defense has regressed this year. I know Levante David's kind of playing by himself there on the second level and as an older player. Right. And we're the move from Carlton Davis, who had 2 picks and Lions comeback win last night, move away from him in the secondary. So, defensively, they got some problems. Offensively, they're really banged up. This is a better football team than their record indicates that they are.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one to let get away because it could have been a huge one with them and having the bye come up. But that's a team that I would not want to play down the stretch as an NFC team trying to make the playoffs. I would not want to have a draw on Tampa Bay just because they're going to be tough out every time you play.
No doubt.
What do we miss? We missed Sunday Night Football.
Falcons Saints, the only game we incorrectly picked this week.
Yeah, Tim is just steam's pouring out of his ears that we picked all these games the same, but we're trying to pick the games to be correct. So we went 12-1, just straight up picking the games through Sunday Night Football. The shame on us, fired head coach bump. We faded it with the Rizzler.
The Falcons had 4 attempts at a game-winning drive. You deserve to lose. Sorry.
Young Hui Koo missed 3 field goals in this game too, I think. Did he not?
Did he miss 3? Yeah, he missed 3. That guy. Every time I watch Koo kick, it's straight as can be, right?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here?
It's the fired one.
Right.
one coach fired coach or one game fired coach bump.
Yeah.
So shame on us. Titans, Chargers. Chargers kind of, it's like a boa constrictor, right? Just kind of methodically throughout the course of this game, grinded the Titans out.
Yep. I mean, and Will Levis, I think, played a lot better. Some good throws on the field to Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
It's just, the Chargers just play sound. They just play sound ball. Eagles, Cowboys. Cowboys are an unserious football team.
This is going to get so bad for Dallas. This is going to get bad. I mean, just the measures of like lack of passing game futility. You already couldn't run the ball.
Bro, 17 of 29 for 49 yards.
Yeah. And this was the guy that you played over the guy that you gave a 4th round pick for last year.
Yeah.
This is a former top 5 pick.
Yeah. Bill can't wait to go there.
Dude, unnecessary shot. Does Dallas, fact or fiction, Dallas does not win another game the rest of the season?
Man,
look at the schedule. We'll do the
Dak's out for the year.
Correct. Dak is expected to have season-ending surgery on his
Boy,
hamstring.
it doesn't look good. Does not look good.
Fact or fiction? That's a take takes on takes early on Monday instead of Friday. Takes on takes. Take.
They host the Giants in 2 weeks. They go to Carolina in 4 weeks. Those are their only chances. They're not beating the Commanders, the Bengals, the Bucks, the Eagles. They're not beating any of those teams. They might be able to beat the Giants. And then, by the way, the
31st in scoring defense this year.
The Lions overcame 5 Jared Goff interceptions to win a game. Talk about not being able to close out a game. Do you see the drive chart for Houston in the second half?
Yeah.
Come on now.
I think they had one possession that went more than like 12 yards, and they missed the field. Would they miss the field goal on that play, on that possession?
Yeah, they missed field goal to give themselves a 26-23 lead with about 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah. I felt like they I know they were kind of clunky offensively, but I mean, to kick that long of a kick and miss it to set Detroit up, I believe there was the dreaded analytics about like kick or go that strongly encouraged a go in that scenario.
They missed from 58. Yeah, they give the ball back at midfield, the 48-yard line.
Yeah.
All they need is a field goal to win it. And come on, man.
Right.
They're counting on making it. They're counting on young Kyami Fairburn making the field goal, and he's a great kicker. So,
but he did not.
He didn't. Yeah, that's the whole missing piece there.
I think CJ's finding out about interception regression the hard way, huh?
Brother, we knew it was coming. If you watched him play last year, you knew it was coming. It's like that was inappropriate. That
led the league in
come on
interception percentage with 1% of attempts intercepted last year on 499 attempts, and
yeah,
still a great player. I think it's worth acknowledging. In typical big play minded quarterback style, he's being sacked on almost 9.5% of his dropbacks this year.
I hear you on that, but I have a big play-minded quarterback that gets the sack the least frequent of any quarterback.
I understand that, but that's because they've encouraged him with the structure of the offense.
Last year too.
Last year too. I thought they did with Joe Brady down the stretch last year too. But then also, he's like Cam Newton.
He doesn't. Yeah, he gets out of sacks. Right?
You know what I mean? Like he has the ability to avoid them. CJ does not, in the same way that Russell Wilson was kind of quick and slippery, but did not. In the same way that Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson was kind of the same way, didn't have like freakish strength to be able to shrug off. Like, what's Ben Roethlisberger's sack numbers? Because Josh is way more athletic than Ben Roethlisberger was, like even prime Ben, but I felt like Ben like always shrugged.
He's unbelievable, especially late in his career. 4%, 3%, 3%, 3%,
right.
3%, 2%.
The entire back half of Ben's career is 5% or less, and he's not any less of like a big play minded quarterback. He's averaging 328, 320, 309 yards per game, passing for 5,000 yards. while leading the league in interceptions one year.
And CJ Stroud's
that luxury.
I know that some people take exception with metrics on first read percentage, but CJ Stroud's 31st in the NFL in frequency throwing to his first read, and he's right there with Josh Allen. For that style of offense, it's not where he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's 20% lower than the other Shanahan quarterbacks throwing to their first reads.
Yeah, he's just got to learn how to walk the tightrope.
Yeah, it's good lessons.
It's a growing process. Still has all the talent needed to be a top deluxe quarterback in the NFL. I don't think there's any question. We got to get out of here. We're 40 minutes. Ross Jackson's probably going to call us up and let us know we ran this thing too long. So we're going to go ahead and wrap.
My cell phone reception will not work on that.
Yeah. So what's that, Ross? I can't hear you. Oh, sorry. I'll call you back later. That's going to do it for us here. Eberflus style. We are kicking it. Got the Monday Night Football night tonight with the Rams and Dolphins. Hope you guys enjoy the game. We'll be back again tomorrow to go over my latest mock draft for the 33rd team.